Okay, we're going to put a jack underneath the bike here, and I'll explain what we need this for here in a few minutes. It'll become obvious. Just get the back wheel off the ground. So now that you got the bike supported, pull the spark plug wires and remove the spark plugs. What we want to do is, while the bike's of course lifted, we want to put it in the top gear. So just kind of turn the rear tire and lift up on the shifter and just keep doing that until you can't shift anymore and you have it in basically the top gear. So what we're going to do now is we're going to use the rear wheel to drive the engine by turning the wheel, and of course you want it in the tallest gear because it's the easiest to turn the wheel and actually overcome the engine friction. So we'll go back to the other side of the bike here, and we'll get ready to remove the push rods. So in this procedure here, we're going to show you how to remove the push rods, and the reason why you would want to use a bolt cutter versus pulling the top end off is it's a lot more labor to remove all these rocker boxes so that you can actually move the push rod up. So what we do is we use a bolt cutter and we lift these push rod tubes and we cut these. There's a retaining clip here at the top of the push rod. You just stick a screwdriver in the little slot there and you kind of pry it out and remove all 4 of those. There's 2 in the front, 2 in the rear. Okay, now we got the clips out. We can lift these push rod tubes up so we can see the push rods becoming exposed. Also, it's not a bad idea to remove this connector so that it's not in your way while you're working on the push rods. And there's just a squeeze tab on the back. Push down on that and slide the connector off, and you can just leave that hang. No big deal there. We can push these 2 up. Okay, so before we cut these out, it's nice to get these up and out of your way. So we got a simple little device here, a paper clip and a rubber band, and you just wrap that around the rocker box bolt to hold that up. And we'll do the other one here. Keep them up and out of the way so we can move the push rods. So now what we do is we rotate the rear wheel and we watch the push rods move. Okay, and when these 2, this one's coming down, okay, that would be the intake push rod over there, and this would be the exhaust. So the intake closes. Now we're coming up on compression. That's why the spark plugs need to be out, so it makes it easier to turn. Exhaust opens. Exhaust closes, and now you're going to see the intake start opening right after the exhaust closes. See them both moving right there? I'm rocking it back and forth. That means this cam, the rear cam, is on overlap, and then consequently, or as a result, the front is on the base circle. And so what it means when it's on the base circle is that the cam lobes are not pushing up on the push rods, which in turn compresses the spring and opens the valve. And so what we have in the front cylinder now that the rear is on overlap, or both of them were moving, is we have both the springs and the valves are completely closed. So we have less force on this push rod so that when we cut it, it doesn't want to, of course, compress and come shooting out of the motor. So the next step here is to basically cut these 2 front push rods. And you want to kind of stay as, high as you can so that you don't mar up the tappet block and whatnot. And we just cut it out like so. Make sure your cutters is all the way through, and there you have it.
Can you explain why you use a bolt cutter?
The reason why we use a bolt cutter is it's the cleanest way to cut a push rod. If you tried to use a die grinder or something, you'd have a mess. And we'll do the intake. Be very careful here. You can see how that push rod wanted to, still wanted to move when it collapsed. And it wants to, of course, bend in the center when you go to cut it, which if you had the spring open or if you were up on the lobe of the cam would not be a pretty thing because it really wants to come out of there. Now what we're going to do on the rear is we're going to rotate the motor so that these 2 lifters are moving. And how I do that, I basically just use my fingers in there and I feel when they're moving. So obviously I reach back here and turn the rear wheel. I can see the exhaust coming up, my fingers going down, and now they're essentially both moving. As I rock the wheel back and forth, I know I can cut the rear push rods out. Sometimes the bolt cutter don't quite get the job done, and you have to get in there with the pliers and kind of finish the job, or re-crimp it with the bolt cutters. There she goes. And of course the push rod tubes and the push rod will get discarded, as well as the retaining clips, because with the S&S push rod kit, whether it be the standard performance push rods or the quickies, they're supplied with new tubes and retainers. The reason why you get new tubes is because this tube is so long from the factory that you don't have enough room below it here to get at the adjuster, and so we have some shorter tubes that we supply with our push rods to allow for adjustment. Now we're going to remove the cam chest so that we can install a cam. There's two methods of supporting the tappet, and you need to support the tappet so that when you pull the cam chest out, they don't fall in and get in your way. And of course you want the tappet in place when you put the new cam in. So one method is the paper clip. This used to be on those little binder clips, and I just basically pull it out of the binder clip and we grind the ends here so that they're sharp, and you stick them in the tappet like that and you catch the edges. So I'm going to stick these in like so and catch the edge of the tappet, and it just locks in like that, and the force that the spring pushes out on the tappet is enough to keep them from falling down. Okay, so to remove the cam cover, you need a 3/16 Allen wrench, and you just crack all these cap screws loose.
Keep going.
So you can see that I got an oil pan under here, because when we take the last bolt out, of course the cam cover could break loose and we're going to get some oil splash out of the cam chest. So I'm at the last bolt here, and this cam chest is actually, your cover is going to stay tight, which is a good thing. Oh, there it starts to come loose. So we can get these bolts out of here, because we're probably going to drop them. And just kind of leave the bolt in, of course, but let the cam chest drain. And we're going to hang on to those bolts because we're going to need them to go back together. Take the last one out, but there's the inside of the cam cover. Next we'll take the outer chain out, remove this bolt and this bolt, and we'll get that taken apart. Before we go to take those loose, we're gonna put the bike back down on the ground. Remember, it's in gear, so by putting the rear wheel on the ground, we effectively stop the wheel from spinning, and that of course is going to stop the motor from turning over. And use a 9/16 for the top bolt here. You heard the thing engage, so it's not going to want to rotate now. And we just crack this bolt loose and switch to a 1/2 inch socket for the pinion gear bolt, and get them both cracked loose, and now we can just take them on out. Now this install is going to be a set of chain drive cams, and so all of these, this bolt, this chain, these sprockets is all going to get reused. The cam plate, the tensioners, everything here is pretty much going to be reused.